What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on this motherfucking YouTube shit. This is serious. Wow, what the fuck?
What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on YouTube shit. Hey man, say man, we are Lit to man. Turn. Today, 2-1 day. Straight heading outside. Big crip in the gang. Straight heading outside shit, man. Free Palestine, free Congo, Russia do your thing, and Texas stand the fuck up. Each day is a new day to be a better version of yourself. Never let somebody bring you down, I'll start back. Never let somebody tell you are boss, never put yourself in a position you don't belong. Stay humble, be on the revolution, keep Yahweh first, and come to the Black Hebrew Israelite as a real Jew. Alright. Boom. Today, 2-1 day. Straight heading outside. Big crip in the gang. Straight heading outside shit, man. Alright, man. So y'all know the Joolio Foolio situation, man. R.P. Joolio Foolio, you know what I'm saying? Young rapper, not forgotten, you know, at the age of 26, got murdered, you know what I'm saying? Crime scene, first 48 type shit. You know, it all happened, man. He dropped his location, man. And it was a week before his birthday party. So he gave the ops a week to set up some shit. And he actually had it where he said he was going to have it. So it's just like, fuck. You know, it was just a crazy situation, man. So they allegedly caught the killers that did it. And I'm going to let you know, the female, well, it's supposed to be one that's supposedly they did not catch, which is the smart one. He didn't get caught. But the female, I think her name is Alicia or some shit, whatever her name is, she might snitch on the whole gang, Yungeen Ace and everything. She told me she got manipulated, abused, forced to do it, all types of shit, man. They all facing the death penalty. She might not get the death penalty. They talking about she might get like life. So at the end of the day, man, you know, Florida is a death penalty type of state. So, hey, we just gotta see what's gonna happen, and let's get to this video. Joolio Foolio, man. They said the killers changed everything, man. Let's look at this shit, man.
Just when we thought we'd heard it all about Foolio's murder, a new video just dropped, and it's changing everything. This ain't just any footage. It's putting these suspects in a tighter chokehold than ever. One of them's already on the run. Another one's folded and snitching, and whispers about Yungeen Ace's mysterious role in this whole
Looking like a motherfucker.
With this new evidence and the streets talking, it looks like Foolio's killers are closer to meeting their fate than they ever thought. New footage condemns Foolio's killers. The mystery surrounding the tragic murder of Florida rapper Joolio Foolio has taken a dark and revealing turn. On June 23rd, the 26-year-old rapper born Charles Jones was shot and killed outside a Holiday Inn in Tampa while celebrating his birthday. The crime shocked fans and sent waves through the hip-hop community. But now, with the release of the full surveillance video, a new layer of horror has emerged. In a press conference days after the incident, Tampa police revealed the full extent of the brutal and premeditated attack that took Foolio's life. You can see the shooters getting into position for their planned-out murder, a police representative explained while narrating the footage, which shows 3 suspects strategically moving into place before unleashing a hail of gunfire on the unsuspecting rapper. The video, which follows the movements of the assailants as they ambush Foolio in the parking lot, paints a chilling picture of a cold-blooded murder plot. Just weeks after the murder, a leak
and Joolio Foolio, man, he knew it. Some shit was going down.
Showing one of the suspects firing an assault rifle into Foolio's vehicle. While the brief clip stirred outrage, the release of the full video confirmed what many had feared. Foolio's death was the result of a meticulously orchestrated setup. It's clear from that video what they were set out to do and what they had planned to do, the police officer reiterated, underscoring the premeditated nature of the attack. As the investigation unfolded, 3 suspects were apprehended in connection with Foolio's murder. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, JSO, arrested 18-year-old Sean Gathright, 21-year-old Alicia Andrews, and 21-year-old Isaiah Chance Jr. Body cam footage from the arrest was shared shared by JSO on social media, adding to the already mounting evidence against the trio. Saturday afternoon, JSO SWAT, CPR, and gang unit members located and arrested Sean Gathright, Alicia Andrews, and Isaiah Chance Jr., read the JSO post on X, formerly known as Twitter. All three suspects were promptly taken into custody, and their involvement in the deadly plot became more apparent with each passing day. 2 additional suspects were identified as participants in the murder, Rashad Murphy and his brother, Davian Murphy. While Rashad was arrested after a tense standoff in Jacksonville, Davian remains at large. Police believe Davian, 27, was also involved in the murder, with surveillance footage showing him wearing a ski mask and firing at Foolio's car from a distance. Authorities are urging the public to come forward with any information about his whereabouts, as Davian has a long criminal history, including convictions for aggravated assault and firearm possession. In court, the chilling footage was only one part of a larger narrative painting the suspects in a damning light. All 3 suspects, Gathright, Andrews, and Chance, pleaded not guilty.
That nigga like a light-skinned Snoop Dogg.
However, the atmosphere in the courtroom revealed something far more sinister. Rather than showing any remorse for their alleged role in the murder, the suspects appeared relaxed and indifferent to the gravity of their situation.
They're like one of my homeboys, I ain't gonna cap.
Also known as Gutta Zay, was even seen bobbing his head to the infamous diss track Who I Smoke by Foolio's rival, Yungeen Ace. Meanwhile, Alicia Andrews was caught joking with her lawyer during the proceedings, reinforcing the cold-heartedness behind the crime. This behavior has only fueled public outrage and reinforced the prosecution's determination to seek the harshest penalties. On Monday, Florida prosecutors made their intentions clear. They will seek the death penalty for Gathright, Chance, and Rashad Murphy, if convicted. The announcement, made during a press conference, highlighted the severity of the charges against the suspects. All 3 face counts of premeditated first-degree murder with a firearm, as well as conspiracy to commit murder. Prosecutors explained that under Florida law, anyone involved in the planning of a murder could be held accountable for the victim's death, even if they didn't pull the trigger. This legal doctrine ensures that all 5 suspects, including Davian Murphy, will be tried for the murder of Foolio, regardless of their specific role in the shooting. Alicia Andrews, who is accused of conspiracy to commit premeditated murder, was notably absent from the state's death penalty notice, but her role in the crime remains significant. Along with the others, she faces a potential
always the light-skinned hoes.
Evidence against the suspects is mounted.
You can't trust these light-skinned hoes, man.
Under Florida law,
the pretty girls that with the cute face and the light skin, you can't trust them.
Of the act. The timeline for this premeditated intent need not be long. It merely requires sufficient time for reflection before the act of murder is carried out. In Foolio's case, the surveillance footage captures the suspects methodically taking their positions around the parking lot, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Their actions leave little doubt that the crime was deliberate, planned, and executed with ruthless efficiency. Had the suspects shown remorse or acknowledged the severity of their crime, they might have avoided facing the death penalty, but their callous attitudes, both during the murder and in court, have likely sealed their fate. Florida's legal system reserves the death penalty for the most heinous crimes, and it seems increasingly likely that the suspects' nonchalant behavior will play a role in their sentencing. As the case against the suspects builds momentum, one crucial figure remains at large: 27-year-old Davian Murphy. Despite the efforts of law enforcement, Davian has managed to evade capture for more than 2 months, fueling speculation that he may have fled Jacksonville or even changed his appearance to avoid detection. With a long rap sheet and a history of violent crimes, Davian is considered armed and dangerous. Authorities.
I heard the police was laughing at Julio Foolio when he died. They set him up.
A significant role in Foolio's murder. Tampa police remain dedicated to capturing Davian and bringing him to justice. As a documented member of the 1200 gang, Davian has been involved in a violent feud with Foolio's
the police the ones set him up.
Involvement in the murder, both personal and premeditated. While Davian remains on the run, Alicia Andrews, one of the few female suspects in the case, has taken a different approach. Sources close to the investigation have revealed that Andrews is cooperating with law enforcement, and it appears she is willing to snitch on her co-conspirators in exchange for leniency. According to reports, Andrews has already started shifting blame onto the other suspects, casting herself as a victim of circumstance. Whether this strategy will work remains to be seen, but it's clear that Andrews is doing whatever she can to avoid the harshest possible punishment. Alicia Andrews tries to find a way out. In the aftermath of the chilling murder of Florida rapper Joolio Foolio, Alicia Andrews has been thrust into the center of one of the most high-profile...
It's sad that shit can happen like this so quick, man.
Killing stunned the hip-hop community. The ensuing investigation has painted a picture of calculated violence. As the case progresses, Alicia Andrews, one of the 5 individuals charged in connection with the murder, is now seeking a way out by attempting to distance herself from the crime and shift the blame onto her co-conspirators, particularly her boyfriend, Sean Gathright. From the onset, Alicia Andrews has been a key figure in the murder investigation of Joolio Foolio. Alongside her co-defendants, Isaiah Chance, her boyfriend at the time, Sean Gathright, and Rashad Murphy, Andrews was implicated in the premeditated ambush that resulted in Foolio's tragic death.
I don't know how much racks they got. How many rack A's they get? You know what I mean?
Following Foolio and his entourage to 2 nightclubs before the final ambush at a Holiday Inn parking lot in Tampa. Investigators determined that Andrews was not merely an accessory, but an active participant in the crime. Using her phone, Andrews allegedly helped coordinate communication between her boyfriend Gathright and the other suspects as they stalked Foolio across multiple locations. Her vehicle was also used in the operation, with Andrews seen on
they used the damn car. Bitch, you know you was getting fucked up,
making it impossible for her to claim complete ignorance of the events that transpired. Yet despite the mounting evidence against her, Andrews is now trying to change the narrative, painting herself as a victim rather than a perpetrator. Her legal team has filed motions seeking to shift blame onto her co-defendants, particularly emphasizing the abusive relationship she had with Gathright, a dynamic they argue coerced her into participating in the crime. In a recent court filing, Alicia Andrews' defense team unveiled their strategy to shift blame away from their client by introducing claims of domestic abuse. They argue that Andrews' relationship with Gathright was marked by emotional and physical manipulation, leaving her with little agency or ability to resist his demands. According to the defense, Gathright's control over Andrews extended to the night of the murder, where he allegedly coerced her into aiding in the crime. The defense has emphasized the fact that this abusive relationship was known to law enforcement but was not fully investigated. They contend that this dynamic was crucial to understanding.
What y'all say is abusive relationship? Man, look at she playing victim. They ain't trying to do that hard ass time.
The prosecution's case is one-sided. The defense team has argued that Andrews' role in the murder may have been the result of fear and coercion rather than willing participation in the plot. These claims have added a new layer of complexity to the case, as the defense attempts to portray Andrews as a pawn in a much larger and more violent scheme orchestrated by her co-defendants. If the court buys into this narrative, it could potentially lessen her sentence or even exonerate her from the most serious charges. However, Alicia Andrews' attempts to shift blame and portray herself as a victim of circumstance are complicated by her own history of lies and inconsistencies. From the moment of her arrest, Andrews has been less than forthcoming with law enforcement. During her post-Miranda interview, she repeatedly lied about her whereabouts on the night of the murder and downplayed her role in the events leading up to Foolio's death. At first, Andrews claimed that she and Chance were merely out looking to party and had visited the 2 nightclubs, Teasers and Truth 18, with no ill intent. She said they had approached the club's entrances to ask about admission fees, but surveillance footage later debunked this claim. Andrews then tried to explain away her presence at the murder scene, claiming that she and Chance were lost and had accidentally turned into the parking lot where Foolio and his entourage were located. This excuse was also quickly proven false, as investigators uncovered evidence that Andrews and Chance had been tailing Foolio for hours before the final ambush. Despite these lies, Andrews admitted to certain key details during her interview. She acknowledged that she allowed Chance to use her phone to communicate with Gathright, and she admitted that she and Chance were in the vicinity of the crime scene at the time of the murder. These admissions, coupled with the surveillance footage and phone records, have made it difficult for Andrews to convincingly portray herself as an innocent bystander. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Andrews' defense team has adopted a strategy of casting doubt on the prosecution's case by highlighting potential investigative failures and introducing alternative narratives. One of their primary arguments is that law enforcement did not adequately investigate other potential suspects who were with Foolio on the night of the murder.
So they trying to say it wasn't her.
Several of Foolio's companions had violent criminal histories and were carrying weapons at the time of the shooting, yet police failed to thoroughly interrogate these individuals. The defense also pointed to inconsistencies in the statements of Foolio's companions, arguing that these discrepancies were ignored by law enforcement in their rush to build a case against Andrews and her co-defendants. According to the defense, this failure to follow up on alternative leads has resulted in a skewed narrative that unfairly places the blame on Andrews and her co-conspirators, while allowing other potential suspects to evade scrutiny. In their court filings, Andrews' legal team invoked the U.S. Supreme Court case.
How these dummies get caught and the other dude got away?
The prosecution has a duty to discover and disclose any evidence that might be favorable to the defendant. They contend that the police
like, yes, sir, I'm out that bitch.
May have had motive to kill kill Foolio constitutes a significant omission that could weaken the case against
He got
By
a
raising
free
these
getaway
points,
ticket.
The defense hopes to create reasonable doubt in the minds of jurors and open the door for a potential acquittal or reduced sentence for Andrews. However, this strategy also risks alienating the jury if it comes across as a desperate attempt to deflect responsibility. Despite the defense's best efforts, Alicia Andrews faces an uphill battle. The prosecution's case against her is strong, and the evidence linking her to the murder is substantial. Her lies and inconsistent statements have already damaged her credibility, and her attempts to shift blame onto her co-defendants may not be enough to sway
Damn.
the state of Florida has already announced its intention to seek the death penalty for
Damn.
several of Andrews' co-defendants, including Gathright, Chance, and Rashad Murphy. While Andrews herself has not been named in the death penalty notice, she still faces the possibility of life in prison without the possibility.
They seeking death penalty and they trying to get her out the paint.
As the trial date approaches,
She trying to
Andrews'
finesse
legal
out the
team
paint.
will need to present a compelling case to convince the jury that she was merely a victim of circumstance, rather than an active
Is she
participant
a
in
victim?
Foolio's murder. Whether or not they can successfully make that case remains to be seen. In what could be her final attempt to avoid a life sentence, Alicia Andrews may be considering a controversial tactic, snitching. According to rumors swirling around the case, Andrews is prepared to provide damning testimony against her co-defendants in exchange for a reduced sentence. This move would not only
She like she ain't ready for jail. Her light-skinned ass. Oh no, she finna get passed around in that bitch.
The legal dynamics of the case. If
She ain't ready for
Andrews turns
jail.
on her former allies, it could potentially turns on her former allies.
She
It
finna
could
get passed
potentially
around in
shift
that
the
bitch like
balance of power
a
in the
raw
court,
piece of meat.
offering the prosecution valuable insider information that could strengthen their case against the other defendants. As the legal proceedings unfold, all eyes will be on Andrews to see whether she takes the stand against her co-conspirators and whether her cooperation will be enough to save her from spending the rest of her life behind bars. Because from the look of things, the cops might be needing information about a man who is rumored to have orchestrated the whole murder, Yungeen Ace. The question of Yungeen Ace's involvement remains. Since Foolio's murder hit the news, one name has surfaced repeatedly, Yungeen Ace. The rivalry between the two rappers had fueled Jacksonville's drill scene for years, leading to violent confrontations and multiple losses. With Foolio's death on his 26th birthday,
Yungeen Ace smart. We haven't heard about that nigga ever since the shit happened.
recent actions, cryptic statements,
You almost
and
forgot about the
lyrics
nigga.
have only added to the public's questions, leaving many to
Damn.
wonder if Foolio's murder was a targeted hit orchestrated by Ace or simply the deadly escalation of their long-running feud. Adding fuel to the fire is the viral video of an unidentified man masked and disguised, claiming responsibility for Foolio's murder. The masked man, wearing an orange beanie and concealing his face, insisted that he was the one who smacked Foolio on his birthday night, carrying out the hit supposedly ordered by Yungeen Ace. In the clip, the man claimed that Ace had paid him $10,000 to kill Foolio, stating,
"On everything I love, bro. On the dead homies, bro. I put it on everything, on my soul, on my kids. I'm the one that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro."
This confession, whether genuine or a ploy to stir controversy, has only intensified suspicion around Yungeen Ace. The confession also seemed to reveal an absence of remorse from the purported killer, who rationalized his actions as part of a transaction. It is what it is, bruh. They don't give a about that money. Anybody can get it. Foolio had it coming to him. The man's apparent allegiance to Ace's crew, ATK, Ace's top killers, further lent an ominous air to his statements, suggesting a strong motive tied to their ongoing feud with Foolio's KTA gang. Despite these allegations, police have neither confirmed the authenticity of the video nor made any moves to arrest the masked man. This lack of law enforcement action has frustrated some in the public who wonder if Yungeen Ace, due to his fame and wealth, may be receiving preferential treatment. The claims in the video, although unverified, have ignited an online firestorm that continues to cast doubt on Yungeen Ace's denial of involvement. Yungeen Ace's actions following Foolio's death further fueled speculation. Hours after Foolio's murder, Ace released a diss track titled "Do It," which many fans interpreted as an indirect claim to involvement in Foolio's killing. The timing of the release and its aggressive lyrics appeared to taunt Foolio's death and reinforce the image of Ace as a gangster unafraid to put his enemies down. The lyrics in "Do It" are rife with threats and thinly veiled references to Foolio's murder. 7 days a week we run this bitch. We spinning. Any day this week I better come up missing. Better stay on point. What? He better not be out here slipping. The lines seem to boast about a constant state of war, where one slip-up could lead to fatal consequences. Ace's repeated threats against an unnamed who is trying and dying seemed to many aimed at Foolio. Adding to the chilling effect of the lyrics, Ace reportedly brandished a bottle of Don Julio tequila in the video, a symbolic nod to Foolio's rap name, Joolio Foolio. Social media exploded with reactions, with many viewers noting the Don Julio bottle and calling it a disrespectful mockery of Foolio's death. One YouTube user commented, "The Don Julio bottle in the video is diabolical," while another remarked, claiming bodies has to be the dumbest flex in history. This provocative imagery, along with Ace's post-murder silence on the matter, has kept public interest and suspicions alive. While Ace's supporters argue that the song and its timing were coincidental, others believe it was a calculated move to take credit for Foolio's death without directly incriminating himself. With pressure mounting, Yungeen Ace eventually broke his silence, addressing the murder and denying any involvement. He took to Instagram Live, claiming that while he and Foolio had been bitter rivals, they had recently made amends. Ace stated,
Foolio dying, cuz. That's sad. Twin, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all boys in the street, y'all didn't leave the streets alone, twin. All condone is like that.
According to Ace, the two rappers were on friendly terms before Foolio's murder, and he claimed to have even given Foolio advice to stay out of the street conflicts that had defined much of their rivalry. It's so funny because we were cool and he shared with his viewers. I was just talking to him, and I was like, bruh, you gotta stay out of the way. You know when love you out here.
Like he just got that tattoo
The
first?
sudden
That was
revelation of their
an
supposed
video.
reconciliation has raised questions about Ace's credibility and the authenticity of his claims, especially given the stark contrast between these statements and the tone of his lyrics in Do It. Many fans and onlookers were skeptical, noting the inconsistency between Ace's alleged camaraderie with Foolio and the venomous tone of his diss tracks. For critics, Ace's denial on Instagram appeared to be a convenient way to distance himself from the murder while still enjoying the publicity surrounding
smart.
his feud with Foolio. To understand the gravity of the suspicions surrounding Yungeen Ace, one must examine the history between Ace and Foolio, two artists who represented rival gangs in Jacksonville's rap scene. Their years-long feud wasn't just about music, it was a violent, highly publicized rivalry between their respective crews. ATK and KTA killed them all. Both crews used music as a weapon, trading barbs and threats through their lyrics, with each side refusing to back down. The feud intensified after Yungeen Ace's 2018 track, Who
Woo,
which
man.
named several of Foolio's fallen associates. Foolio retaliated with When I See You, a track that sampled audio from news coverage of Ace's brother's death. Both songs generated millions of views, with fans taking sides and further fueling the rivalry. The back and forth quickly escalated beyond music, resulting in multiple shootings, threats, and violent encounters that kept the tension between ATK and KTA at an all-time high. For many fans, Foolio's death seemed to be a tragic, albeit inevitable, consequence of this bloody feud.
I mean, he was getting shot at
Add a
24/7.
new dimension to the conflict,
Every state he was
suggesting
going
that the
to.
rivalry may have escalated to targeted violence. With
I bet he like,
lives.
fuck him, I might as well go
The
back to the
Jacksonville
cribbo.
Sheriff's Office, JSO, has closely monitored ATK and KTA's activities for years, frequently linking them to the violence plaguing the city. Following Foolio's death, JSO held a press conference to address concerns of retaliation between the two gangs. Sheriff TK Waters spoke about the pervasive influence of gang culture and the impact of social media on perpetuating violence. Young people think this is a game, Waters stated. They make it like it's a video game. It's not. This is real life. He has a mother, he has parents, siblings, probably friends. They have to deal with these kinds of losses, and it's unfortunate. When pressed about the glorification of violence on social media, Waters expressed frustration, indicating that such content fuels conflicts and often spills into real-life violence. He warned both ATK and KTA that law enforcement would be keeping a close eye on their movements and strongly cautioned against any form of retribution.
So Yungeen Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them.
Waters' comments
Damn,
made clear
bitch.
that law enforcement was well aware of
Let
the
us know how you really
affiliations
feel.
of
The
both
FBI on
Foolio
that
and Yungeen
motherfucker.
Ace, and that they were not taking Foolio's
I know
death.
Young Ace like,
Yet,
fuck.
despite the public pressure, there has been no indication
But he
that
ain't, you know what I'm saying?
evidence linking Ace directly to Foolio's murder. As the public continues to dissect Yungeen Ace's lyrics, social media posts, and actions, the question of his involvement in Foolio's death looms large. For some, Ace's calculated silence, provocative lyrics, and carefully timed denials have cast him as a villain willing to exploit violence for clout. Others view him as a talented artist caught in the crosshairs of a violent culture that often claims its participants' lives. Regardless of the truth, the perception of Ace's involvement could have lasting consequences on his career and public image. The shadow of Foolio's murder may hang over Ace, with fans and critics alike questioning his role in the tragic death of a fellow rapper. For more content like this, click on the video showing on your screen.
A female trying to say she was manipulated. That's all I tell y'all niggas. Never bring a bitch into a man's problem.
The streets are buzzing, and Alicia Andrews,
cause she will get you out the paint.
Jacksonville rapper Joolio Foolio is out here trying to flip the script, claiming she's the victim. This ain't no ordinary defense either. Alicia is saying she was caught up in some abusive relationship with her man, Sean Gathright, aka Guttazay, and that her involvement in the murder was all because of him. But there's an important detail of the crime that she seems to be forgetting no one will ever forget. Before we expose what it is, let's have a look at her latest scheme. Alicia Andrews plays victim in Foolio murder. In the aftermath of the tragic murder of Jacksonville rapper Joolio Foolio, authorities acted swiftly to apprehend the suspects believed to be involved in the crime. Within a month of the fatal shooting, 4 individuals were in custody: Isaiah Chance, Alicia Andrews, Sean Gathright, and Rashad Murphy. All 4 were charged with first-degree murder, and Alicia Andrews, a 21-year-old woman, became one of the central figures in the case. Andrews, initially implicated alongside her boyfriend Sean Gathright, who is also known by his rapper alias Guttazay, now claims that she is a victim in this tragic scenario. On the night of the murder, the group, including Alicia Andrews, is alleged to have actively tracked Joolio Foolio, whose real name is Charles Jones, as he made several public appearances.
They got y'all on camera. He come up to the stairs. He looked straight at the camera.
Gentleman's Club, where Foolio had advertised an appearance through his Instagram account, followed by another stop at Truth 18 nightclub.
Never post where your ad at.
Chevy Cruze driven by Isaiah Chance, with Alicia Andrews as his passenger, and a black Chevy Impala occupied by Sean Gathright. Video surveillance from both clubs showed Chance using Alicia's cell phone while outside the vehicle, and call records confirmed communication between her phone and Sean Gathright's phone throughout the night. These records, combined with surveillance footage, suggest a coordinated effort to track Foolio's movements as he traveled between locations. After leaving the second nightclub, the vehicles followed Foolio and his entourage to the Holmes 2 Suites Hotel, where the murder eventually occurred. The prosecution has alleged that this was a premeditated act, with the suspects deliberately trailing Foolio before ambushing him at the hotel.
So she gonna snitch on Yungeen Ace?
Alicia Andrews gave
a
post-mortem statement in which she attempted to distance herself from the murder. She admitted that she was present at the locations in question and acknowledged that her phone had been used by Isaiah Chance to communicate with Sean Gathright. However, she denied any prior knowledge of the murder plot, claiming that she and Chance were simply out to have a good time, even going so far as to say that they
was in the club watching that nigga probably
just to inquire about admission prices. These claims were quickly debunked. Video surveillance footage contradicted Andrews' statements, showing that she had never approached the club's entrances as she claimed. Instead, the footage revealed her and Chance lurking in the vicinity, tracking Foolio's whereabouts. Andrews also admitted that she was in the car with Chance at the scene of the murder, but tried to explain away their presence by saying they were lost and had merely turned around in the parking lot, unaware that Foolio was at the hotel. These contradictory statements and her attempts to minimize her involvement raised red flags for investigators. Despite her denials, the evidence clearly indicated that she was deeply involved in the events leading up to the murder. However, in a surprising twist, Alicia Andrews is now attempting to portray herself as a victim rather than a perpetrator, claiming that her actions were not voluntary, but the result of coercion by her boyfriend, Sean Gathright. In a recent court filing, Alicia Andrews' legal team presented a new defense, arguing that she was in an abusive relationship with Sean Gathright, which had a significant impact.
I know damn way he got to do all this goofy ass shit, bro.
To both physical abuse and emotional manipulation by Gathright, which allegedly influenced her decision-making during the incident. The defense argues that this abusive relationship was known to law enforcement, but was not.
Damn, she got that nigga under the bus.
In a one-sided narrative that fails to take into account the power dynamics between Andrews and Gathright. Andrews' attorneys contend that her involvement in the crime may have been a result of fear and coercion rather than voluntary participation. The filing requests that the court order further investigation into this relationship, asserting that the prosecution has failed to explore the potential impact of the abuse on Andrews' ability to act freely. According to the defense, this oversight has created an incomplete picture of the events that transpired that night. The introduction of domestic abuse into Alicia Andrews' defense adds a significant layer of complexity to the case. While it is not uncommon for defendants to claim they were acting under duress, the legal system typically requires a high burden of proof to demonstrate that a person's actions were entirely dictated by another.
Yeah, bro, it's like my phone is bugging.
Crimes like murder. In cases of coercion, the defense must show that the defendant was under immediate threat of harm or death, and that this threat directly influenced their actions. defense. While Andrews' legal team has alleged ongoing abuse, it remains to be seen whether they can prove that this abuse was directly responsible for her role in the crime.
So she's trying to claim
Andrews'
abuse
inconsistent statements in her initial
and
police
manipulation
interviews may undermine her credibility as a witness in her own defense. Additionally, there is a question of timing. Why is this claim of abuse only being raised now, several months after her arrest? Critics may argue that Andrews is using the abuse defense as a last-minute attempt to shift blame and avoid full accountability for her actions. If this defense is perceived as a tactic rather than a genuine explanation, it could harm her case in the eyes of the jury. Prosecutors in the case have been adamant that Alicia Andrews played a knowing and active role in the events leading up to Foolio's murder. They have presented a timeline supported by surveillance footage, phone records, and witness statements that show Andrews was involved in tracking Foolio and helping to coordinate the movements of the group that ultimately carried out the attack. According to the state, Andrews' claim of being a victim of abuse is a strategic move to deflect responsibility. They argue that the evidence clearly demonstrates her participation in a premeditated crime, and they are expected to challenge the defense's narrative of coercion. The prosecution is likely to emphasize that Andrews had numerous opportunities to disengage from the situation, but chose to remain involved, suggesting that she acted of her own free will. Alicia Andrews' defense raises larger questions about accountability, particularly in cases where domestic abuse is alleged. Should an individual be held fully responsible
Damn,
for
it
their
was raining
actions
that
if they
day.
were
You know it was
coerced or
on some
manipulated
drama
by a
shit.
partner?
I was like a
At what
fucking
point does the
movie,
line
bitch.
between victim and perpetrator become blurred? In recent
Let's
years, courts
not
have
cap.
increasingly recognized the role that abuse can play in shaping a person's behavior, particularly in cases of
But you
domestic
think he gonna make her go
However,
take her
the
car,
threshold
get
for
inside the
proving
car,
that abuse
and do
led
all the
directly
killing
to criminal
while all the
involvement remains
information
high.
in
And
her
cases
phone? Come on,
involving
bro.
serious crimes like murder, the stakes are even higher. If Andrews' legal team can
He
successfully
light-skinned too. You
demonstrate
can't
that
trust
her
none of these
actions were the result of
motherfuckers.
abuse and coercion, it could lead to a reduced sentence or even an acquittal. However, if the prosecution can prove that she acted knowingly and willingly, her claims of victimhood
This
may
tough,
not be
man.
enough to save her from a lengthy prison sentence. In addition to playing victim, Alicia is also pointing fingers at other snitches other than herself. Alicia Andrews points fingers at other snitches. As Alicia Andrews continues her legal battle following the murder of Jacksonville rapper Joolio Foolio, her defense team has accused authorities of failing to investigate others who were with Foolio during the time leading up to the shooting, suggesting that key individuals close to the victim have been overlooked as potential suspects. But is this true? The Tampa police
So they say it was a setup job. That bitch
the victim's
who gave him the address to link up. Y'all know I'm talking about that dark-skinned bitch?
According to court filings, Foolio had posted a flyer for a party in Tampa on Instagram weeks before the incident, alerting his followers to his whereabouts.
That's
Multiple
crazy!
people commented on the post,
Got all the
warning him
wolves
about his
looking at your
mannerisms
ass.
and the danger he could face if he attended. In their legal filings, Alicia Andrews' lawyers pointed out that a significant number of individuals who were with Foolio the night he was killed had traveled with him from Jacksonville. The narrative presented by the police, one that painted Andrews and her co-defendants as the sole individuals tailing Foolio throughout the night, was, according to her defense, misleading. These other individuals were close to Foolio during critical moments, yet according to Andrews' team, their involvement was largely ignored by law enforcement. In a motion filed by Andrews' attorneys, they argued that many of the individuals who were with Foolio on the night of the murder were either uncooperative or provided contradictory statements during
But she's trying to snitch on everybody.
Despite these or provided contradictory statements during brief interviews. Despite these inconsistencies, police did not conduct follow-up interviews or ask for written statements from these individuals. According to the
So she's trying to say they just
officers
didn't
allegedly
call
told
nobody
these
else, just
witnesses
them
that they were
three,
not
four.
in trouble and would not be further investigated, even before they had any
But the police didn't give a fuck.
This lack of
As long as they can lock some niggas up, they don't give a fuck who it is. If you fit the description, bitch ass getting locked up.
Had criminal background.
These white people don't give a fuck about us. Nigga, you fit the description ass, nigga, you getting it.
Significant questions
If you
about
don't, let it been a white dude kill the motherfucker. He would got a nigga. Crackers don't give a
case
fuck.
takes on a new dimension when examining the legal precedent of Kyles v. Whitley from 1995. This Supreme Court ruling mandates that prosecutors must disclose any evidence that may be favorable to the defendant, including alternative suspects or evidence that contradicts the prosecution's narrative. Alicia Andrews' legal team argues that law enforcement's failure to investigate these individuals and their potential motives constitutes a violation of this principle. By focusing
As long as
solely
you
on
fit the
Andrews
description,
and
they
her
locking your ass up.
claim the authorities missed
You don't
out
have
on
to fit the
crucial
description.
exculpatory evidence.
They could have been a
that changed
Mexican,
the
bitch.
outcome of the case. A particularly intriguing
If you like a
aspect
nigga,
of
they
the
gonna
case,
get your
and one
ass.
that Andrews'
They
defense
gonna try to like
seized
my ass
upon
up for some
revolves
goofy
around
shit.
the question of who
He was
provided
a white guy.
Foolio's location
Type
on
shit.
the
You know
night
what
of
I'm
his
saying?
murder.
Come on,
Although
man.
Foolio had publicly posted about his appearances in Tampa, speculation quickly emerged that someone close to him had tipped off his killers about his exact whereabouts in real time. One person of interest is a Tampa promoter named Ari,
Yeah, her
who
thick
hosted
ass.
the event where Foolio was last seen alive. Ari had invited Foolio to her party at the last
Her
minute,
thick
according to her
ass.
own Instagram posts, where she shared the rapper's arrival in real time with her followers. Some fans and social media users began to question why Foolio would attend an event hosted by someone he had only just met on Instagram, speculating that Ari may have backdoored the rapper by publicly sharing his location. In response to these accusations, Ari vehemently denied any involvement in Foolio's death. She explained that Foolio had agreed to attend her event and stayed for a while before leaving. She also clarified that she posted only what Foolio had approved, and that any suggestion of malicious intent was unfounded. Ari expressed fear for her own safety, revealing that she had received death threats after the rumors started spreading online.
At this point, I'm getting death threats. I'm getting
Yeah, your
phone
goofy
calls,
ass.
I'm getting
You
text
posted it
messages,
low.
and I just gotta let y'all
But I
know what
know
it is.
Julio,
Like, I had
he
nothing to do
goofed
with
up,
Foolio's
man.
death. Me and Foolio was texting. He came to my event. He popped out. He was in a section. He had him a bottle, and then he dipped.
Another person who has come under suspicion is Mizzle, a close friend of Foolio who spent the
Oh,
entire
shit.
day with him prior to the murder. Mizzle was with Foolio from an Airbnb they rented, all the way through to the after party that night. However, Mizzle's connections have raised questions about his loyalty. According to internet sleuths, Mizzle is closely associated with
Damn, trying to say the
Backstreet,
nigga
who
named
had previously
Mizzle?
made threats against Foolio. Backstreet is well known in Jacksonville's hip-hop scene for his affiliation with Yungeen Ace, a rival rapper
Oh,
who
yeah, I
had
heard about that
long-standing
one.
issues with Foolio. Backstreet had even boasted on social media about killing one of Foolio's friends and expressed that he expected Foolio to post about it, a taunt that fueled the animosity between them. When news of Foolio's death broke, Backstreet posted "Beautiful Day" on his Instagram story, followed by a video from Yungeen Ace that seemed to mock Foolio. This timing raised eyebrows, with many wondering whether Backstreet, and by extension Mizzle, might have played a role in orchestrating Foolio's murder. The connection between Mizzle, Backstreet, and Foolio's enemies has led to rampant speculation that Mizzle may have betrayed Foolio by revealing his location to those seeking to harm him. However, as with Ari, there is no concrete evidence linking Mizzle to the crime, and online accusations remain just that, unverified rumors. Alicia Andrews' defense team has used these suspicions to bolster their argument that the police
This shit
overlooked
getting
key
crazy,
witnesses
bro.
or suspects in their rush to focus on her and her co-defendants. The defense has gone so far as to accuse law enforcement of protecting certain individuals, those with criminal records or known connections to violent activity, who may have had more direct involvement in Foolio's murder than Andrews herself. By pointing fingers at potential snitches within Foolio's circle, Andrews' legal team is attempting to cast doubt on the prosecution's narrative of what happened that night. The theory that someone close to Foolio might have betrayed him lends itself to the argument that Andrews was not acting of her own free will, but was instead caught up in a larger plot orchestrated by others. Alicia Andrews' strategy of shifting blame to other individuals could potentially undermine the prosecution's case, especially if the defense can demonstrate that law enforcement failed to pursue credible leads. The accusations of poor investigative
they ain't give a fuck.
such as not following up with key witnesses or dismissing possible suspects without thorough questioning,
fit
could
what they
weaken the
got going, you
prosecution's
might
claim
get
that
it.
Andrews was a knowing and willing participant in the murder. Additionally, if the defense succeeds in showing that key individuals with a motive were not properly investigated, it could introduce reasonable doubt into the minds of jurors. In a case as complex and high profile as this one, any hint of uncertainty could be enough to sway the outcome. Alicia Andrews' likely future. Okay, so her defense team are doing a heck of a job, but are they going to win? And if they do, what's it going to be like for Alicia? Let's take a closer look at the revelations once again. These revelations focus on overlooked evidence, unexplored suspects, and the failures of law enforcement to follow critical leads, all of which may play a pivotal role in shaping her future. One of the key elements of Andrews' defense is the behavior of key witnesses at the scene. According to her lawyers, multiple individuals close to the victim provided inconsistent and misleading statements during their initial interviews with law enforcement. These
Cause she trying to get that nigga out the
should have
paint.
raised red flags,
She snitching on
prompting
everybody. She
further
finna snitch on
investigation.
all the
Yet no
niggas.
follow-up interviews were conducted. This
Her
lack
little
of
frail
scrutiny
yellow
is
ass, she ain't
significant
finna
because
let
those
that
witnesses
shit
were
go.
not only
You know
present
what I'm
during
saying?
critical moments, but may have had their own motives or information that could change the course of the case. Under Strickler v. Green, 1999, the prosecution has a constitutional obligation to disclose material evidence that could influence the outcome of the case. By failing to delve deeper into the suspicious behavior of these witnesses, the state may have neglected to uncover uncover exculpatory evidence that could benefit Andrews. Her legal team argues that this oversight severely undermines the fairness of the investigation and raises doubts about whether other suspects were unjustly ignored in favor of building a case against Andrews and her co-defendants. Moreover, Andrews' lawyers point to a string of warnings on the victim's social media pages prior to the fatal incident. Publicly visible comments and direct threats from individuals suggested that he was in danger if he attended the party where he was ultimately killed. Despite these warnings, law enforcement's investigation centered almost entirely on Andrews and her co-defendants, dismissing other possible leads. By neglecting these online threats, which were made by individuals with clear motives, the police may have prematurely narrowed the scope of their inquiry. The focus on Alicia Andrews, according to her legal team, has also been misrepresented to the media. Since her arrest, the media narrative has fixated on the 5 individuals currently facing charges, including Andrews. This, her attorneys argue, ignores crucial facts such as the abusive relationship between Andrews and one of her co-defendants, Sean Gathright, as well as the potential involvement of others who were with the victim that night. Andrews' lawyers claim that those other individuals who traveled from Jacksonville to Tampa with the victim were not thoroughly investigated despite their proximity to him at the time of the shooting. By emphasizing the inconsistencies in witness statements, the failure to investigate social media threats, and the biased media coverage, Andrews' legal team is crafting a defense that challenges the state's narrative. These tactics are designed not only to deflect blame away from Andrews, but also to cast doubt on the integrity of the entire investigation. If successful,
you never know these days, man. You never know how the jury trial might feel, man.
Potentially leading to a reduced sentence or even exoneration. Another critical development in Andrews' case is the state's decision not to seek the death penalty against her, a move that stands in stark contrast to the other suspects involved.
They trying to get the death penalty.
Face the possibility of capital punishment, Andrews has been spared this ultimate penalty for now. This decision raises questions about how the prosecution views her level of culpability compared to her co-defendants, particularly Gathright and Murphy, who are alleged to have played a more direct role in the shooting. The state's notice to seek the death penalty against 3 of the suspects, Gathright, Rashad Murphy, and Isaiah Chance, highlights the seriousness of the charges they face, but also leaves room for the defense to argue that Andrews' involvement was less significant. Her legal team will likely leverage this omission to suggest that she was not as central to the planning or execution of the crime as the other defendants. The fact that the state did not pursue the death penalty against her could indicate a belief that her role was more peripheral, or that there are mitigating circumstances in her case that warrant a different approach. This development could work in her favor, potentially leading to plea negotiations or a reduced sentence if she is found guilty. The absence of the death penalty from her case provides her lawyers with an opportunity to argue for leniency, particularly if they can continue to cast doubt on the prosecution's evidence and highlight the failures of the investigation. As Andrews' defense continues to unfold, her lawyers have also taken the step of shifting blame onto her co-defendants, particularly Gathright. They argue that Gathright played a more significant role in the events leading up to the murder, and that Andrews was coerced or manipulated into participating. This strategy of deflection could potentially create divisions among the defendants, especially if Andrews is portrayed as a less willing participant or a victim of Gathwright's influence. The abusive relationship between Andrews and Gathright is likely to be a central theme in her defense. By portraying Andrews as a victim of coercion, her lawyers hope to generate sympathy and humanize her in the eyes of the jury. This narrative, combined with the assertion that law enforcement failed to investigate other suspects, paints a picture of Andrews as someone caught up in a larger web of violence and manipulation rather than a mastermind behind the crime. Looking ahead, Andrews' future remains uncertain, but her legal team is clearly laying the groundwork for a defense that challenges the state's evidence, questions the integrity of the investigation, and highlights the failure to explore other potential suspects. The decision not to seek the death penalty in her case is a significant advantage, but the road to a favorable outcome will be long and complex. As her trial date approaches in January, her defense team will continue to push for further investigation into the actions of other witnesses.
Man, who knows how long this trial gonna take, man, to see what's gonna happen, bro.
Question the conduct of the police and argue that the case against Andrews was built on
and then it might be a RICO.
Information. If they are successful in creating enough doubt
this
about
shit might get
Andrews could
crazy,
see charges
nigga.
reduced or face a lesser sentence than her co-defendants. However, if the prosecution is able to counter these arguments effectively and convince
stop the cap, they ain't gonna have no black nigga on. They ain't have no black nigga on that stand. They gonna have nothing but white people.
Face a life sentence
Old ass
without the
white
possibility of parole. While the death penalty is off the table,
That's what
the
they
severity
do.
of the charges she faces means that Andrews' future hangs in the balance, dependent on the strength of her defense and the outcome of the upcoming trial. A key factor that could also significantly affect Alicia Andrews' future is her alleged involvement in gang activity. Along with her co-defendants, Isaiah Chance and Sean Gathright, Andrews has been linked to the ATK and 1,200 Inches gangs, known rivals of Foolio's 6-block gang. This gang connection not only adds to the complexity of her case, but could also have serious implications for her sentence. Depending on how deeply her involvement is perceived. Gang affiliations often exacerbate legal consequences, particularly in cases involving violent crimes. The murder of rapper Joolio Foolio is believed to be gang-related retaliation, and with law enforcement framing the crime within the context of a broader gang feud, it paints a harsher picture of Andrews' role. If the prosecution successfully establishes that Andrews was an active participant in this gang rivalry, her sentencing could be influenced by laws that treat gang-related violence with heightened severity. Florida law, for example, includes provisions that allow for enhanced penalties for crimes committed in furtherance of gang activity. If the court finds that Andrews' actions were directly tied to gang violence, she could face tougher sentencing guidelines, even if she did not physically carry out the murder. The presence of the gangs in this case positions the defendants as part of a dangerous criminal network, a factor that the prosecution is likely to emphasize. Furthermore, Alicia Andrews' defense must contend with the perception that she was not merely an accomplice, but actively involved in the planning or execution of the crime. The fact that Isaiah Chance, also known as rapper Gouda Zay, and Sean Gathright
This shit looking wild in a bit.
the same gang as Andrews creates a narrative that she was deeply intertwined with individuals operating within a violent subculture. The prosecution will likely argue that this association demonstrates a pattern of behavior and a predisposition for participating in violent acts, making it harder for Andrews to claim innocence or diminished responsibility. Despite this, Andrews' legal team will likely try to distance her from the gang affiliations, possibly portraying her as a victim of circumstance. The fact that she appeared visibly nervous during her arrest and court appearances could be leveraged to suggest that she was not a willing participant in the events, but rather coerced or manipulated by others, particularly by Gathright. Highlighting the abusive nature of her relationship with him, her defense may argue that her involvement was driven more by fear than by loyalty to him. However, the court's ultimate
they saw them
decision
numbers
will rest
adding up.
on how successful
She saw them
the
tough ass
defense
bitches in
the
jail.
prosecution's
She
argument
saw how
that
small she
Andrews'
was. She
gang
like,
connections played
hell
a direct
no.
role in the murder. If the jury
She
perceives
fresh
her as
meat.
deeply embedded in gang
You know what I'm
life, the
saying?
sentencing could be severe, potentially leading to life
Look how she
imprisonment
look.
even without the death penalty
Fresh
being
meat.
sought. The gang rivalry, combined with the brutal nature of the crime,
But
makes it
hey,
unlikely
you
that she
set
would
niggas
escape
up,
a
you feel
lenient
me?
sentence if convicted. In the
Shit
meantime,
happens.
the court of public opinion will continue to scrutinize her role in the crime, fueled by media coverage and the ongoing blame shifting between defendants. For now, Andrews' fate remains uncertain, but her legal strategy suggests that her defense team is prepared to fight aggressively to secure the best possible outcome for her. For more content like this, click on the videos showing on your screen now.
Alright, back. So y'all know my number one rule. Never trust a pretty bitch. Never trust a pretty bitch. Second rule. Never trust a light-skinned bitch. And that's just facts, nigga. Never trust a pretty bitch and never trust a light-skinned bitch. You know, I guess they were watching Joolio Foolio the whole damn time. You know what I'm saying? And they got the drop, you know? And they were using her car. She was inside the car allegedly when they did the shit. Man, it just getting wild, man. You know, one dude escaped, which is a smart one. They still in court. I just wondering how they gonna ring it up. You know what I'm saying? We just trying to get to the nitty gritty of things, man. See if any new shit coming out about what really happened. You know, they were trying to say his friends set him up. That thick girl, she set him up. It was just, I think it was just a whole shit show at the end. Like, it was just like set up central. You know what I'm saying? When you that popping and everybody want to take you out, you can't have nobody around you like on some just chill shit, because it's a setup on each type of the side. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Joolio Foolio, man, he just got tired of running. You know, he was in every state, and almost every state he went to, somebody was shooting at that nigga. You know what I'm saying? I think he was just tired of running, man, and he just wanted to have one last day of fun. And that's what happened, man. So, hey, that was the video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it. We out this bitch. Hood, Northside, big crypto, dang, Northside shit.
Hey, Dad, you know, dog, when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. You know this is instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.